Good morning. Today I'm going to try and give you an idea of the issues that we all will have when it comes to trying to record the BYOD products. It's not as simple and as straightforward as everyone would like it to think, so we have to look at ways and means that we're going to turn around and be able to do that. So we're talking about being flexible, working. Obviously with today's looking at the, you've got over 3.4 million people were working at home in 2005. That figure we anticipate has gone up by 15%. Okay, so by the year 2013, there's about 80% of people working from home somewhere or other, which is a huge challenge for ourselves. And obviously what happens here is you've got people working at home. How do you know that they're working to your set standards, KPIs? When they're in the office, it's quite simple. You can see them, your supervisors can see them. When they're at home, really and truly, you have no idea what they are doing. So how can we do that? And one of the ways we can do that is obviously by measuring performance, and where they're working. And to do that, obviously we have things like call recording, screen capture, speech analytics, and quality evaluation. All of these can be used to analyse how the people are working. But obviously one of our issues when it comes to the call recording is how are we going to turn around and record them? Yes, we have on the Avaya platform, we have 1X. 1X, the calls are routed through the switch, so we've got ways and means then of recording the calls. If you're not using 1X, how can we do it? And the alternatives there are obviously things like mobile recording. So we can record the mobiles to see how they're doing things. If they're using a standard phone that's connected up via VPN back into their main switch, yes, that can all be recorded centrally. So it's ways and means that we're going to be able to adapt ourselves to be able to record those calls. So I don't know how many of you actually use recording at the moment. And the ways and means, it's a funny one because if you look within any organisation these days, everyone keeps all their faxes, everyone keeps all their emails, everyone keeps any type of paper documentation is stored. Yet where you're talking about companies doing 50% of their business on the phones, there's still an awful lot of companies that have no record of the spoken word. So no idea whether the information given out has been correct, whether they're following their compliance, their must-say statements they should be doing in operation. So it's a challenge to get people to realise that voice gives them the record of the spoken word. So on things like the Avaya platforms, we can record trunk side, SIP, or standard ISDN. If it's extension side, we can do digital, IP, analog, or a lot of our work on the Avaya is done by a product of theirs called DMCC, which turns around and gives us the recordings that we need to record. So it's an interface within their solution that presents all of the recordings that we need, and it's done by single-step conferencing to us. And the other thing, obviously, in this day and age, is that a lot of the recording solutions are going to be used for compliance purposes, or with the credit cards challenges these days. If they're taking credit card payments, we have to make sure we don't record the CSV number at a bare minimum. So we have to have ways of integrating in. So all our solutions are FSA compliant as standard, but they are only PCI DSS compliant ready. For us to do any type of suspension of the recording, we have to know when they're taking credit card details. So to become PCI DSS compliant, we have to integrate with a customer's solutions. There's no way around that, and every recording company is exactly the same. There has to be some method of doing that. At the present time, a standard product we have, which is just URL based, if you're using web payment systems, we can quite easily just look at the URLs, and when we see the URL of the payment system come up on the screen, we will turn around and mute the recording. When that disappears, we'll start recording again. But obviously legacy systems, which are plenty of out there still, we have to integrate within the legacy system. So when they go to a certain field on a certain within the CRM system or the payment system, we need to be able to see that, and we take that signal then to mute the call, and when they go into the next stage, to unmute the calls.
If I could just touch on that, if it is of interest to anybody PCI DSS, we do have a white paper available contact either ourselves or Britannic, and we're happy to send you a copy of it. Sorry, again, sorry. Yeah. We can send you a PCI DSS white paper if it's of use to you.
And this is just a simple screen of call recording. And basically it's got start times, dates, etc. The person who's taken the call, the calling party who's phoned in. So normally within an Avaya platform, when we're recording it, we have an awful lot of information that we store about the call that all becomes searchable fields. So every field within the call recording is a searchable field in any shape or some joke. Okay, so to give you an idea on a trunk side recording solution, obviously within here, we take a passive tap off the trunk into the switch, connects up to the recording recorder. We then take off the CTI stream on the Avaya, which is called AES. Yeah, that goes into our recording controller, and in our recording controller we make a list of all the calls or all the agents or people that need to be recorded. Yeah, and we control the start and stop of recording that way. So the call hits the switch, we see it's going to a designated person needs to be recorded, we start recording, and when that call finishes we stop recording. An alternative to that is to use the signalling of the PSDN that will tell us when calls are coming in, we start recording the protocol, and then we just tag the information in after the event. Choice is down to you. As a backup, if we're using tagging with the CTI stream, we can also have SMDR integration as a fallback. So if for any reasons we have loss of signal from the CTI, we have SMDR backup. Where we're unusual on our side of things, Playback is free of charge on the solution. You can have as many Playback licenses as you like. Network storage, is part and parcel of the system, and no huge uplift cost to get these implemented on the solutions. And the APIs for integrations into the solutions are all provided free of charge. If you want to integrate it with your CRM, we say there's your API, go ahead and do it. If you need us to do work, there is a small charge for any integration we do. There is a cost for our PCI DSS URL software, but it's not huge. It's about a third of the average company's charges out there. DMCC, I'm not sure if anyone are very aware of what this is. It's similar to SRC on a Mitel. It's where they're presenting an audio point that we can tap off for recording calls. And once again, that has to be recorded by the AES CTI information. Okay, so all sorts of different ways we can turn around and record the Avaya. And then of course, I don't know about any of you are familiar with mobile voice recording or have had applications to need to use it. Basically, that has all come around really and truly from the FSA requirements that all banks must record the mobiles if the mobiles are being used for any transactions. Okay, so the way we do this, there are two ways of doing this. It can either be a SIM-based application or it can be an app that is loaded onto the phone. So when a call is made, it doesn't go direct to the number, it goes to a central system. That central system then dials out, makes the call, and at that point in time, we take a tap off the audio for recording purposes. And the same when a call comes into the mobile rejects the call, sends it back into the system where it goes out and then goes to the person, and everything is recorded centrally. And that can be cloud-based or it can be on-site, depending on how you want to run that. Basically it's a patented product called Untitled Technology. So this can be used if something like 1X can't be used. It's an alternative to do that, and it's every call that goes to and from that mobile is recorded. So this is just an idea. So you have your call starting off. Calls then go into we call it PSDN, but that can be a cloud-based solution, that can be an on-site solution, which then taps off into the recorder. From the recorder it goes. It's all recorded. So that's basically how the whole solution puts together. That moves over to screen capture. So I'm just going to pass you over to Sarah who did the screen capture over.
Thank you. Just going to touch on screen capture. Obviously now we've touched on the fact that voice recording can give you a better picture of things, and especially for remote working, you can make sure that things, must say statements for instance, are occurring, things are being done properly on the phone as per your corporate lines. But what actually happens if you're using CRM systems, what is actually happening there is there still a continuity of them doing their job right? Are they logging things appropriately so that the rest of the organisation knows about it, etc., etc.? So that's what screen capture gives you. It actually gives you a holistic view. I can make this work.
Right.
Thank you. It gives you a holistic view of an agent, what's actually happening, or a home worker, what's actually happening. So you'll be able to listen to the call, and simultaneously you'll be able to listen or look at the screen and find out what's going on with their PC. The solution works on PC licenses as well, so if you only wanted to record hypothetically home workers, you can do so. Or if you wanted to look at the whole organisation, you can buy licenses appropriately to that. And as I mentioned, it's simultaneous, so you can listen to the call and see what's going on at the same time. What we're going to do is just give you a rough idea of it. So if you thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I hope there's how can I help?
Hi, I wonder if you can. My name is Steve. I'm calling from A&O Systems. I just got a recording system. I'm not actually be able to retrieve recording from yesterday.
Right, okay. If I just look the call for you, won't be a moment.
Okay.
Okay, Steve. And sorry, the issue with your recorder was you was unable to retrieve a call.
Yeah, from yesterday. A couple of calls.
Okay, the call reference number
Yeah.
is 35
Yeah.
36
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a telephone number down here for you. If I could just read that out to you, it's 0870 60 68
Yeah.
800.
That's it.
Okay, I'll ask the engineer to give you a call since it's free. Good afternoon, I hope there's how can I help?
Hi, I wonder if you can. My name is Steve. I'm calling from A&O Systems. I just got a problem with the recording system. I'm not actually be able to retrieve recording from yesterday.
Right, okay. If I just look the call for you, won't be a moment.
Okay.
Okay, Steve. And sorry, the issue with your recorder was you was unable to retrieve a call.
Yeah, from yesterday. A couple of calls.
Okay, the call reference number
Yeah.
is 35
Yeah.
36
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a telephone number down here for you. If I could just read that out to you, it's 0870 60 68
Yeah.
800.
That's it.
Okay, I'll ask an engineer to give you a call since it's free.
Alright.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we now go back to the remote worker, so we've listened to the call. For all intents and purposes, that could be absolutely right. The person said the right thing, they did the must-say statements, they logged it for all intents and purposes. With the screen capture scenario, you can actually see if they're good. Did they actually press the right button? Did it actually go through to the engineers? Have they got the call, and can it be dealt with? The screen capture will just give you an idea of best practice, and you can also at the same time look at perhaps whether or not the processes that you have in place, are they too complex? Can you actually cut down the time being spent on actually doing things on your CRM system, or whatever other files they have to update, what do they have to do? And you can look at best practice scenarios as well in an impartial manner. And this is all of this, that's what voice recording and screen capture give you, is impartial. So you can see exactly what is going on in a holistic manner and make decisions, management decisions on whether or not it's right for you or your business and your customers. Okay. So we're going to talk about speech analytics. I'll hand you back to Phil.
Thanks. Not sure how many of you are aware of what speech analytics is. Basically, it's the ability to search through recordings automatically. So it allows you to set up phrases, words within a context of the search facility that will then search through all the calls and then present the calls where those phrases or words have been found with their accuracy on how accurate they think they are. So compliance method and banking, etc., I am looking for someone who's saying must-say statements. The system will automatically search through the calls and present the calls back. This is a product that's just been taken on by Avaya. They've just bought a company called Britannic, and the analytical method they use is one called phonemes. So it allows you to search for calls based on phonemes, and that means it's not like a speech analytical where they're using text to speech, or speech to text rather, where they convert all the calls into text and search the text files. So someone's name like Kutalowski in a speech to text you wouldn't be able to find, but in phonemes it would find it every time. So we're able to do 100% of the calls 100% of the times. So if you wanted to turn around and search calls at a later date, you've already analysed all the calls and it's ready for you to set up your search parameters. Okay, so if we look at it at the present day, how things are done on quality evaluation, etc., we tend to do sort of 80% random listening with 20% coaching. With the speech analytical tools, we're looking at doing 20% targeted listening and 80% targeted coaching. So it's the old Pareto law side of things on this. So we're looking, if you look at within the graph of where things are, you've got agents who are doing things badly at this end and at the top here. We're only going to be looking at those two. We know in between everything else is fine. So we're going to be able to target specific areas where at the present time when it comes to quality evaluation and coaching, we're very much random into listening to the calls to find out how the staff are working. So basically, we can create just over here a list of phrases that we're going to be able to search on. So in a compliance situation, yes, we can have, you've got 14 days to change your mind. Well, in that 14 days to change your minds, everyone does it differently. So we have to create search packs on how that will be sent. So some people say you do realise you've got 14 days to change your mind. Others will say it other ways. So we'll create nested search packs around that compliance statement, and that could be for quality of opening, quality of closing, complaints. We can create as many of these searches as we like, and the system will find all of those calls and present them to us. And everything is graded by percentages. So when it's searching it, it will turn around and present it on a percentage basis. So you would probably be looking and saying anything below 30% I want to look at and dive into, just to see who is not doing the work, which allows you then to target your coaching to the staff that are failing to comply with your statements. Okay. Other areas it can be used on, competitor analysis. For an insurance company and someone turns around and said, oh, I got a better deal from Aviva, you can have the system searching out any competitor's information, so you can put in your search packs all the competitors, and the system will then show you everyone who's looked at that, which allows you then to understand what is going on within the call centre, etc. On top of that, analytical tools are available on the solution based on in the cloud. So basically, all of the results that you've got from your speech analytics are sucked up into an analytical agent in the cloud, and it's all presented back to you in workable format. Okay, so all the metadata loaded up into the clouds, and it comes back and it will tag all the calls for you. So the whole idea of everything about the analytics is being able to give you specific calls that you're looking for without having to troll through thousands of calls yourself. So it's an automatic process of searching through calls and giving you meaningful data back. And then compliance, well, you can get reports on, of all the staff, which the staff aren't being compliant, and you just get reports back on the staff that aren't being compliant, which allows you then to turn around and highlight working just on those staff. So it's targeted work that we're looking at being able to do using speech analytics. And being cloud-based, obviously, that means that supervisors, team leaders, managers can look at all of this from home. They don't have to be in the office. It doesn't matter where they are. And similarly with the staff, it doesn't matter where they are. We record all the calls centrally, yeah, and then we can analyse all those calls, but make it all the results available, you know, to anyone working from home. So, has anyone got any questions on sort of analytics or?
You've shown phrases. What about keywords? Is that too small?
It can be too small. We tend to look at using the phrases as a far better way of doing it. If you actually look at keywords, we will have a reasonable hit rate on it, but it's not as great as having a phrase there. The longer the phrase comes, the greater is our hit rate on that side of things. But having said that, as I mentioned, that word Kutlowski, yes, it finds it every time. So it depends on sort of length of word as well.
I think it also depends on how you're going to use the approach. Some people are actually going to look at staff behaviour, and therefore word spotting as such wouldn't be as effective, I guess. Whereas if you are, looking at must-say statements, compliance, etc., you have to take into account sentences and phrases to get the best hits for it. That ultimately, I guess you're using that to make coaching and training a lot easier for you, to highlight needs.
I think the big thing with the speech analytical engines, and that's all of them, is how good your search packs that you set up are. So when you're setting them up, it takes a while to get used to how to do it. But this is something that showed someone in here, in 20 minutes you'd be able to do it, run with it yourself and set up your initial search packs quite happily. Very quick and very easy to use. It's just a matter of understanding how the call centre works in the different areas and what you need to look at the phrases to set up. As I said on the competitor analysis, it's I've had a quote from Aviva, just Aviva, or I've had a quote from Aviva, or I've had someone else got a quote from Aviva or something like that. You've set up all those search packs up like that, it will find it even better than just the single words.
Once you've found the calls you want to, is there any way of producing a transcript of that call? Or is it just a listening back?
Just a listening back at this point in time. I suspect deep down in the development side with Avaya that they will be looking at doing that.
This is a very simple, remember I spoke about context very briefly in Flare. They're using these same sort of tools in the background where the context is critical in the future for the UC type applications as well as the contact centre. So developing these type of technologies is very important in terms of pulling context out, both the general UC and the contact centre environment. Going back to your issue around the words, again, the more context you have, the greater accuracy you have. Unfortunately, you do a word search, so it's a unique word that gets used once in a blue moon. But if it's a common word, then without additional context of the phrase, it becomes quite challenging, I guess, because you're still then going to have to filter further on in terms of getting accurate information out. You still manual processing involved potentially for that. So,
I think the whole thing with speech analytics is so good, especially in the call centre environment, where you're trying to improve the overall performance of your agents in such a quick way of having analysis down to those that aren't performing in the right areas so that they can be retrained to make sure they start working there. So return on investment is very high on it. In compliance within, say, the banking world, you've got I suppose JP Morgan's the classic one. You've got a rogue agent who's just lost £4.4 billion. Someone is traipsing through every recording that man has made and is having to find it. And that's it. Whereas with speech analytics, they could just create the search packs and do it automatically, and just the calls they need will be presented to them. But someone will be, or a team, I would think, are traipsing through every call that dealer has ever made to find out what went wrong.
Let's hope that doesn't happen too often, though.
Yeah, absolutely, Just 4.4 billion. Petty cat. And that sort of leads us on then to the quality evaluation side of things, where we're going to, Sarah Jane's going to take over again. It's basically looking how we're going to use those recordings, yeah, and analyse how the agents are doing against the set KPIs and standards.
Thank you. So, we've got calls. We know now what we're actually trying to look at and how we're going to train the people. We now need to know that these home workers are actually, again, performing correctly. So this is where quality evaluation comes in. What it allows you to do is obtain up to 5 recordings, randomly selected from that agent, and based against set criteria that the company has specified. So let's give a call centre environment as an example again. They have some must-say statements, so good morning, good afternoon, my name is, how may I help you, for instance. That could be criteria, step number 1, down to as many as they have. It's all based on the customer's requirements. You tend to set it up in obviously logical format to match the flow of the call. You set up all your key criteria and then listen in to up to 5 calls. Reason, as you would expect, we have 5 calls is because if they're having a bad day, at least that you've now got another 4 calls to listen to make sure that there is a performance issue and they're not just ill or emotional. So you listen to the calls and you can then mark them accordingly to make sure that they're within standard or they excel. Great way of doing this is obviously if you have got a very good agent to use for training needs, it's highlighted there. You can use them as best practice and good performance. So this just obviously verifies what I've said. For a remote worker even, it's important to make sure that those performance levels are exactly the same as if they were working in your business. It works with any recording solution as well, which is important. If you already have a very nice or Redbox, for instance, this solution will still work for it. It works slightly differently from our one. It's obviously integrated with our recording solution, so the front end is very neat. You click buttons, you go straight into the recording platform. If you have an alternative platform, it doesn't really matter. You can still do it, but the way that you would get the calls will be in an actual separate folder of the calls that are found off of the recording. So you can use it in exactly the same way. It's just not quite as neat. The key with this quality evaluation solution is that it's completely tailored. It's not something out of the box that you're given to get on with. You help design it, you choose what competencies you want to put in the system, you choose what reports you want. Everything's up to you at the end of the day. It's completely customised to meet your requirements. So every single one will be slightly different. That just gives you an idea of the front end. What we've developed over the last 18 months is a traffic light system. What we wanted to do is we realised that not everybody will want to do the same old performance review time and again, monthly, quarterly, whatever. What they may do is some interim reviews, so you just want to assess people to see whether or not if they're good at what they do, you leave that for another couple of months and concentrate on the red areas that they're underperforming in. Speeds up the process, gets more training and coaching needs sorted out more selectively. So we've developed this on a traffic light sequence for quick synopsis. So before you go into the system, you can highlight the red areas, for instance, and just look at those, listen to calls accordingly to those set competencies, and then move on to the next person to assess. You build an appraisal based on the Checkerboard scores. What we also have, as you'd expect, we have a reporting system at the end, which I'll talk about in a minute, but what we have is a dashboard as well. So managers can get a quick synopsis of how their teams are performing. Dashboard will sit on their PCs, and you can then drill down on specific information that you require. It will give you like team and individual analysis. You can see whether or not they're meeting or exceeding standards from the,
It's top
there we go, thank you. You can see here the dials to see whether or not they're meeting their standards, exceeding or indeed not meeting it yet. And down here on the departments teams, you can drill down to individual people in departments to have a look as well. So there's no need to actually go into the appraisal system unless you're an assessor. as a manager, you can have this on your PC as a dashboard, and you can still get an overview of what's going on in your departments.
I think say down as well within that, sorry Sarah,
Yeah.
that you can, from that dashboard, you can drill down right the way down to an individual agent to see how they're performing. So from a supervisor, team leader's perspective, it's very, very quick and easy just to drill down, drill down, drill down, drill down. So it's either it's giving you all the tools just from a simple dashboard.
Okay, mentions about reporting, which is obviously key to it as well. You've carried out all the hard work, worked out whether or not they're performing or not. You want an easy and quick method of reporting back to the relevant people. So again, you can tailor the reports to match. There is a library of standard ones that we've amalgamated over the years from other clients. But in fact, you can then tailor your own reports to meet your needs as well. They can then be emailed, printed, however you operate, you can match those needs as well. Again, this just gives you an idea of one of the reports that we do, and it keeps in line with the traffic light sequence, so you can quickly see how they did previously and in this advice which has just been handed out as well. So, mentioned briefly that it integrates with our recording platform, and it just gives you an idea of how it is. So you can actually search specifically for the agents, find their calls from the recorder, and then play them back to see that they meet the needs of the performance review. If the call's only 7 seconds long, for instance, there's not much on the clock. So you're looking for specific ones that will meet the criteria that you need to assess them as impartially as possible. So you can play them back and then put them into the call basket and add them appropriately. So that, in a nutshell, is the quality evaluation solution.